The Detroit Public Schools Community District is filled with young black male students, but there's not a large number of black male teachers in the district. Research suggests that boys of color are more likely to succeed when they have at least one African-American male teacher during elementary school. My next guest recently wrote an op-ed in the Michigan Chronicle about the critical need for black male teachers. I'd like to welcome Terrence Martin from the Detroit Federation of Teachers. He's joined by two Detroit teachers, Quan Nellums from Frederick Douglass Academy for Young Men and Ben Durden from Communication and Media Arts High School. Welcome, all three of you, to American Black Journal.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So, you know, when I think about my schooling here in the city of Detroit, I had one black male teacher in 12 years. And I went to a variety of different schools, public, private, religious. My sixth grade teacher was a black man. And I remember how different that was that year, how differently I felt about him, how differently I felt about school and those classes. But this is 40 years ago, right, that this problem was around. It's really remarkable that we still have it today.
Yeah. Well, 40 years ago for you and about 20 years ago for me.
You're younger, right?
And but the problem still persists. Statistics prove that when young black boys are exposed to positive black men, particularly a teacher, a classroom teacher, then they're less likely to drop out of high school. They're more likely to succeed and more likely to be happy about coming to school each and every day.
Yeah. When I think about my kids' education, they've had plenty of black female teachers in their educational experience, but they haven't had a lot of black males. Talk about that difference. What is it about black men versus black women as teachers that makes such a difference for black boys?
Well, I think that you know, it starts in the home. And unfortunately, many of our young black boys are being raised by in single-parent households by predominantly women, black women. And having a male figure in the home exudes confidence. It gives you a pattern for success and also provides that positive male figure that you need in the home. One of the things that we don't have an issue with is having positive males images in sports.
Sure.
So you have it on the basketball court, you have it on the football field, but where it lacks a lot of times for us is in our communities and in our households and in our schools.
Yeah, yeah. So talk about being a black male teacher at Frederick Douglass Academy. That's a place for boys. Do we have more black male teachers there than you would in most other schools in the district?
I think the numbers are pretty similar.
Are they?
I think at Douglass we probably have a good mix of half and half. But, just as far as around the district, I think the numbers are probably still the same, even at Douglass. So.
Yeah. And so what's your experience like with the boys that you're teaching?
So Frederick Douglass Academy for Young Men is the only all-male public school in the state of Michigan. The experience is, I guess with all boys in particular, you get a chance to have that sense of brotherhood.
Yeah.
You know? And then being a male teacher and a younger teacher still, you know, I can play that role as like a bigger brother. And so being able to, like Terrence said, to exude confidence just by being there, you know, showing students that as a male you can play sport, but you can also can be a scholar as well.
Right.
So I think that's one of the biggest takeaways. It definitely exudes confidence for the student.
Right. So talk about what made you want to be a teacher.
So I actually didn't want to be a teacher.
Yeah.
I did while I was in college. I volunteered at Peter Vital School that serves the Brightmoor community.
Yeah.
And the feeling that it gave me to be at that school and they allowed me to work with the boys, it gave me a sense of purpose. And so I think that, you know, that sense of purpose outweighed anything else I think that I could find in another career. And so that's what allowed me to want to be able to be in the teaching profession, just having that sense of purpose.
Yeah, yeah. What about at Communication and Media Arts High School?
Communication and Media Arts, a small high school on the west side. Used to be, it's in the old St. Mary's Reference.
Right.
It's four of us, four black males there. We have a relatively small staff. It's about 24 of us.
Okay, so that's a pretty decent percentage, actually.
I think that black male teachers serve as the introduction to black professionalism for a lot of our boys. When I can remember 40 years ago for me as well, my first African-American male teacher, I remember his name was Ray Johnson, longtime educator with Detroit Public Schools.
I have known Ray Johnson my entire life.
And he had a huge impact on my life, just his rapport with the students. And I've always remembered that. And he was there for a short time. I think he got promoted in the middle of that year.
Yeah.
But just seeing black males in a professional light, it has a long-term impact.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, it's like, again, it's that introduction and, interacting, serving as an example and it's inspiration for young black men is invaluable.
Yeah. So what was it that made you decide that teaching was what you wanted to do?
Well, when I was in college, just kind of finding my way as we all do, working our way through college, and realized that I wanted to help other people in that situation. And so I was inspired to go into education to just see if I could help inspire some young man to be something greater.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things that I think of when I think of colleges and how they deal with African Americans in general is that there's a lot of pressure to go into certain kinds of professions. I can remember when I was in college, the counselors pushed a lot of kids toward engineering or law, the kind of things where you'd make a lot of money and sort of be successful. I don't remember anybody suggesting, hey, maybe you want to be a teacher.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where as black men, we want to be able to be respected in our workplace. We want a job title that allows us some respect and an ability to earn a decent living to raise a family.
Right.
And unfortunately for many educators, we're not going to get rich doing this.
You can't get rich doing it, right? I'm in the similar profession, right?
And so it deters a lot of people from entering into the profession. But one of the good things about it, and particularly for black males, it allows us to sort of share our interests that may be outside of the classroom, particularly in the arts, in leadership development, in mentoring. And so that's one of the one good thing that being a part of the education profession allows for black men to do. Because in many instances, we don't have that platform to really share our skills and talents in those areas. And education allows for that to happen.
Yeah. What about the idea of leadership in the buildings where you guys work? It seems like there's a shortage often of black male principals too. And that would, I think, contribute to the same problem.
Yeah, no, I think that being a black male working in a school, a lot of times we're drawn to principalship, but even before that, if there's any issues, behavior problems, they come to you.
Is that right?
Yeah, and so I mean, sometimes most of the time that's a good thing, but sometimes you feel like, well, I can do something more than just be the hammer, on the misbehaving student. But I embrace just that opportunity to interact with kids, whether they have a behavior problem, they need somebody to talk to, but definitely we're looked to at, because we're such a small population, we're looked to especially to deal with black boys.
Right.
To provide that leadership.
Yeah.
I think it's relatability. Many of us come from the same backgrounds that our students come from. I grew up on the west side off McNichols, and I tell my students all the time, I'm from the same neighborhoods you're from. I've had the same experience. I've educated in Detroit Public Schools, and so you can do whatever you put your mind to do. As far as leadership in the building, you are looked, like Quan said, you look to intervene in certain situations, but it's also an opportunity for you to share your experiences, and a lot of times our kids, they have lofty aspirations, and they fixate sometimes on things that I want to make money, so I want to do what makes the most money.
Yeah.
But you're able to share through your experiences that you may want to go to the NBA, but an NBA
But most people don't get to
trainer
do that.
makes a lot of money.
Right, right.
And you can open doors and open thoughts that they may not be aware of, and because you've had life experience, you can say, look, you want to go to the NFL, but what's your backup plan?
Right, right.
What
are we really going to do, right? Yeah.
There's many different types of engineers.
Yeah.
So look at, we can inspire them to just look across the board at many different options.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, very interesting op-ed, and congratulations to the two of you for doing what you're doing, and thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. It's our program for